We should let you know when we
Damn,
recording.
that was loud as hell.
Right. That's how it's supposed to be, fam. All
Gotta
right.
record me.
Camera over. Hold on, give me a second. Move my camera. David's gonna edit this out. We'll soon
And
back.
this Pokeball too.
Welcome back to Accidentally DeFi. Here we got a special guest who is surprisingly showing his face today. I thought he was gonna have the NFT up there or something. But yeah, we got, I don't know what you want to be called, J. Jones Diaries. I don't know if
Yep,
that's
it's
okay.
perfect.
J. Jones Diaries. So we're just here talking about the merge, upcoming, as they say, alpha. Just important information about the markets. But first, I just want to get your opinion on the market. How you feel about the market as a whole right now? How's everything going? I mean, I'm about to hop over to Arbitrum. I mean, I'm already on my Arbitrum, but I'm gonna hop over just to make sure they got me counted. Ethereum price is looking like it's gonna go sub 1,000 again, and I'm about to get real greedy. How you feeling?
Well, I like bear markets. Like made like 70% of my net worth in a bear market last time. So I'm pretty happy. I'm pretty happy.
I'm glad that you and you happy in a bear market. Not
Mhm.
that I'm not. I'm
Mhm.
just I think as a young investor or a new investor, uh, it bothers me because I guess I want to see results now, and it's like I spend so much time studying and getting ready for crypto and figuring out the best projects. I'm an avid investor in AMP, I'm an Anchor, Polygon, etc. Tons of these small projects on the side of Ethereum, Bitcoin, and it's like I want everything now, but I'm greedy,
Nice.
and it just doesn't
You
happen like
gotta
that.
you gotta last at least 3 bear markets before you get greedy. You got 2 more left. You got 2 more left.
I'll make it as long as my wife lets me make it. I'm gonna make it. But let's see what happens. So we're here to talk about the merge. The merge is one of the biggest events in crypto, and I think a lot of people have been saying that it is the biggest event uh, in crypto since like the first Bitcoin, which I think is pretty. It's just an aggressive statement. So, like, how would you rank the importance of the merge?
Uh, I wouldn't say it was as important as the first Bitcoin, but definitely the second biggest event. You're migrating right now with the merge $127 billion worth of capital. So, like, a lot of people can't fathom that that's happening, but that's literally what's happening over the course of the next year. $127 billion are being moved from point A to point B. So
Yeah,
that's in our lifetime, we're probably not going to see that again.
yeah. Well, hopefully we do get to see it again. Because I mean, I know I was listening to Bankless not too long ago. They were talking about we were swapping the engine out mid-flight, but why do we call it the merge? Like, what? Why do we call it the merge? I'm just like, I mean, I know there's in the Ethereum Merge roadmap. I cannot remember. There's like 5 words, and they all end in urge. Uh, I'm not gonna quote myself on that. I might be drunk, but there's a lot of different uh, terminology in the Ethereum roadmap, and we're not even halfway there. So why do they call it the merge? And I guess what do we expect? What do you expect?
So, just to preface and everything, the merge is called the merge because actually Ethereum, it has several layers to it. So Ethereum has what's called the state layer, the transaction layer. Then you also have like the actual contract and balance layer. These are 2 separate things. So the merge is going to merge the state layer, which is right now the proof of work side of things, with the proof of stake side of things, which is the current beacon chain. Right now, the beacon chain is doing nothing but just producing blocks and slowly migrating the state layer to the proof of stake layer. So over time, the merge will be when you combine the proof of work with the proof of stake layer. So you're going to combine the state, which is just think of it like a big database of everything that has happened with what's about to happen. You're going to smush it together like a sandwich. So that's what the merge is. Think about it like you have transactions and you have the actual execution of the transactions. So that's the merge. You have a record of
So
the transactions and the actual transactions that are doing stuff.
okay, so it sounds like from what I got, and I could be completely wrong, but it sounds like we got that the state layer, which is like the state of Ethereum, I mean, I guess,
Yep.
which is proof of work, is going to be converted into proof of stake. And while at the same time, all the other layers are going to be running.
Yes. So actually what's happening at this very moment is Ethereum has two chains running in parallel. You have the proof of work chain that is running right now that you use every day to day. Some people don't use mainnet, of course, because it's expensive. But also you have the proof of stake chain, which is also running in parallel to the proof of work chain. It's doing nothing right now but just producing blocks and recording everything that is happening on the proof of work side. So when the merge actually happens, and this is why it's such a big deal, you're going to take everything that was doing the heavy lifting on the proof of work side, and it's going to be put inside the proof of stake side. So right now, the proof of stake side of Ethereum isn't doing actual transactions. It's not doing actual work. It's just recording all the work that the proof of work side is doing. So at the time of the merge, what's going to happen is all that work that the proof of work side is doing, all those transactions, ideally what will happen is, your apps work fine, ideally, and you're just moving like normal, you know.
Uh, that sounds like it's very intricate. I want everyone to know that it's a very difficult process, and whatever the result is for the Ethereum developers, I'm going down with the ship, like a FedEx package, if you will.
Woo, Titanic.
But I mean, right, Titanic. So I mean, but I trust them. I think that they're smart. I mean, we saw that the Robston testnet was merged on January 7th, 6th, 10th. I can't remember. It was early June. Oh, I said January, June. The Robston merge was
Yeah, it
merged
just
on
happened.
June. So I think we got another merge in the month of June. Which one is that?
I don't know. I don't know. I
What's
don't
the
like
next
to put
testnet merge?
timelines. I don't like
I
to put
don't
timelines.
know, man. I don't know. Testnet merge. Hold on. I know they're important.
I put a
Uh,
timeline, then everybody quotes me, and then I go viral.
yeah, then you go viral and then you ruin everything. Yeah, you're right. So we're not getting carried by the timeline. What we do know is that the Roston testnet was merged successfully with very minimal issues. So I'm going to have you define what proof of work is, if that's okay with you. And then I want you, if you can, list the risk of proof of work.
Alrighty. So let's see, what do we begin with?
Proof of work.
uh, let's see. Like a higher level proof of work, or do we want to go like
You can
deeper?
you
Like,
can explain it how you wish, and then I can dumb it down if I need to. I think
gotcha.
proof of work is much easier to explain than proof of stake. To me,
I feel like proof of work is kind of easier to me.
yeah.
So proof of work to start off was created to not need a central authority. That's a big portion of proof of work. So proof of work basically is a consensus mechanism to verify transactions. That's at the core of it. That's all it is. Proof of work works by literally saying, I have a computer, you have a computer, uh, 30 other people have a computer. We're going to run through and we're all going to do the same equation. And hopefully we all come to the same consensus of the answer. So with proof of work, that's what is called mining. Everybody agrees that, hey, we're going to do the same computation. And if we all come to the same agreement and no computer says that there are any bad actors or the algorithm is messed up, we agree that this work is done. In the case of Bitcoin, when we all agree that this work is done, a new Bitcoin is minted. I like to use Bitcoin as an example because it's the simplest form of proof of work.
Right.
Pros of proof of work are that it's not really influenced by price, because because you're not. You know what? I'm going to say that for later because that'll go into proof of stake. The simple detail of proof of work is that a bunch of computers agree that a computation is correct. And
Right.
because we all do the work for this computation, then we are rewarded with a coin. In Bitcoin's instance, we're rewarded with a portion of Bitcoin. And that's kind of what's called a coin base. So hence Coinbase's name.
Okay. So the risk of proof of work, though, I think there's only
The
one
risk,
risk, right? The 51% attack. That's it.
yeah, the risk of proof of work kind of boils down to the 51% attack basically says that 51% of the computers are owned by one person. And in that case, then that person has control of the network. He can't essentially shut down the network, but what can happen is a double spend could happen, meaning you could re-roll back a transaction. It gets very expensive. Proof of work in general is very expensive and it's not cost efficient because you need a more powerful computer the bigger the network gets. So in the beginning, of Bitcoin, for example, again, I'm going to keep using Bitcoin because it's, the grandfather, or very simple terms, like, you could run a proof of work Bitcoin miner off of like a Raspberry Pi and get thousands and thousands of Bitcoin. As the network grew, when I say the network, the chain, which is just think of it like a database or a big Excel sheet. As the network grew, you have to go through every single one of those transactions, every single one of those database nodes to do the computation. So you need a stronger computer after every transaction, which means it gets more expensive to do a very simple transaction to verify it. And again, all of the computers have to agree that this transaction is correct. So you have to have a super strong computer, that takes a lot of energy, that's not very fast. You'll never say, Bitcoin's the fastest network because you have to go through the most transactions of a blockchain has ever had. So
Yeah.
those are kind of disadvantages of proof of work. Expensive, not energy efficient, and the hardware is growing exponentially because the blockchain is growing just as great.
So so I'm gonna break it down. It's expensive because the hardware is expensive. It's also expensive because of the electricity cost. We gotta throw that in there. Proof of work is difficult. So because it requires so much money to participate in proof of work, it's not necessarily what do you call that when it's democratizing? Because it doesn't necessarily invite everyone, right? So
Yeah,
poor people can't necessarily participate in Bitcoin mining, but you could have maybe 12,
you
15,
could. You're just gonna get
15,
a very, very small portion of it. So it
right?
might not be profitable,
Profitable.
but you can
So
participate.
so it's like, Bitcoin is more or less for, large. I'm looking at a website. I'm not sure if this is true, but a 51% attack of Bitcoin is going to cost $702,000 an hour right now. I'm not sure if I'm not sure how that works, but this according to crypto 51.app, yeah, that's what they're saying. So I mean, it costs a lot of money to maintain a 51% attack. Not just to, we're not talking about to access it, just to maintain it. And I think
Mhm.
the amount of money that it costs is the biggest issue with the 51% attack, which is a very good, defense mechanism for Bitcoin. It's very nice. But when you come to Ethereum, who's now moving on to proof of stake. This is the future of Ethereum. Ethereum is looking to move forward to proof of stake. I'm kind of excited. I think I'm honestly head over heels for the future of Ethereum, minus a few questions that I have, particularly about builder validator separation. Um, right now, the price of Ethereum is 1,000. So JP Morgan or Bank of America or Uncle Sam could scoop up tons and tons of validator nodes if they wanted to and control the network. And, it's a risk that I wanted to talk about. But first, I'm going to have Jay Johns describe, what proof of stake is and the risk and the benefits of proof of stake.
So proof of stake is another consensus mechanism. Again, think about you have a lot of computers that agree on the same computation. The difference is proof of work is based on how long the computation is and the hardware has to be strong. Proof of stake is based on how many tokens that you're staking. So you separate the power from hardware doing the work based on a trustlessness system. So with proof of stake, you stake your tokens in the network, and then what you gain by staking these tokens, you are able to produce blocks. Whereas with proof of work, if you have the hardware and you can produce these computations, you are in the network by itself alone. Just by the production of the computation, you can produce a block. And people vote on that and say like, all right, hey, you're the one that produces this block. Then that's pretty much it. You just solve the equation, you get the miner fee. With proof of stake, you stake your tokens. Because you stake your tokens at random, you are you at this point in time, you are chosen, or it's a randomized block selection of validators. Like there isn't like you just line up and stake your tokens. So you stake your tokens. The algorithm says like you are able to produce a block. If you come up with the wrong equation or the problem with the computation isn't solved accurately to everybody else, then you lose your stake. So it's a different kind of consensus mechanism where you have stake in the game, where if you're a bad actor and you said like, I'm going to produce a block and I'm going to produce a bad block. Like when I say a bad block, I'm going to back up because not everybody knows what a block is. A
Like a
block is just
shiesty block.
yeah, like
Like
a
a
shiesty
block,
block.
like, yeah,
A block is just a group of transactions. A block is just a group of transactions. So say
yeah,
for instance, we're gonna go like completely crazy. You say like on Uniswap, I sold 3,000 BTC for $1, and you produce
okay,
this block, and you are one of the proof of stake validators. Everybody looks at you and says like, this doesn't look like it should be possible, but it was
right.
your turn to produce a block. So you staked your token saying, I vouch for myself that this block is accurate. So what happens is they'll let you produce a block in proof of stake. And then the next block comes, whoever's next after you will look at your block and say like, hey, well, this isn't, I don't think that this should have happened like this. And then another block is produced and another validator says like, yeah, that block you produced 2 blocks ago doesn't look accurate. We're going to take his money, or what's called slashing. So you staked your native token, you produced a bad block. After more blocks are produced, it's found out that your block was bad, then you lose your stake. Whereas with proof of work, there isn't a validation like that. You're not staking anything. You're just simply saying, I'm doing the hard work with my computer, I'm solving a calculation. Because I solved the calculation, I am getting rewarded with a miner fee.
So what you're
So
saying is in proof of stake, you have to put up a front, if you will, of money or currency. And your currency is your stake in the network, naturally,
yep.
right? So if you misuse your stake in the network, you are punished by your stake being slashed.
Yes, and I'm just gonna keep it in Ethereum terms. I know there's other proof of stake networks out there, but like that's in essence how it works.
Polygon,
So Polygon is one. You got Tezos. There's a few others, but basically
yeah.
it's kind of the exact opposite. With proof of work, you are putting up the capital initially, saying, "All right, I'm going to do the work with my hardware. I'm going to solve this equation. Equation solved, you get rewarded. With proof of stake, you put up your capital is in the form of a stake and it's locked up. That's why staking has a lock term. And we're going to get into that later. That might be the liquid staking faces just regular staking. But when you stake something, you are locking up your token saying, I'm vouching for myself that when I produce this block, it's right. If I produce a bad block, then they take it and then they give it to whoever catches the bad actor. So that's proof of stake. The bad part of proof of stake, and like I'm not gonna say I'm a big proof of stake fan, just simply because it can be very price manipulated. Anybody can purchase a big amount of tokens if you have the capital. Um, just like we were talking about a 51% attack with Bitcoin. It's a lot harder to buy a bunch of hardware to do computation spaces, just buying tokens that you're putting up for staking. To buy to attack the Bitcoin network, you not only have to purchase the hardware to do it, you also have to purchase Bitcoin at the same time. Whereas with
Right.
proof of stake, you just have to purchase whatever thing that you're staking.
Right. Yeah, I think that's always been something that I've been concerned about, and I think over the past few weeks, as I continue to like digest proof of stake and the risk of Ethereum moving to proof of stake, I've gotten kind of scared. And it's like, I know I was talking to you recently, and you were like,
Yeah.
JP Morgan, which I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I'm a TradFi guy. John Pierpont Morgan is an American hero to me. I love the man.
Bro,
No,
bro,
he's an American hero, right? But
bro.
we wouldn't have the Federal Reserve without him. But John Pierpont Morgan was an important figure, and I hate to see the bank go under, but it's like they're already pro Ethereum. They love Ethereum. So it's like, what's stopping them from buying, millions of validator nodes when they have a they have a 2.3 trillion dollar market cap, or not market cap. They have 2.2 trillion dollar assets in their account for the banking, and Ethereum currently is only at $120 billion. Am I right? Like $120 billion. So
Not
like
120, 130.
130. So they dwarf Bitcoin. Like, I mean, not Bitcoin. They dwarf Ethereum by almost, maybe 15, 16x. So they can essentially buy the entire network if they wanted to. So they could.
Solana. Who said that? Oh, I don't know who said that. What happened? Yep, can't hear you.
Can you hear me now? Is it bad?
All right, yeah, there we go. There we go. You're back now.
I'm gonna go with this. This should sound better. But Ethereum is at stake right now because uh, JP Morgan or Bank of America or Uncle Sam could buy everything. Next problem. So I think we need to, as a concerned Ethereum citizen, it's something that I'm stressed about. And then there's this concept of builder validator separation, which I have not completely wrapped my head around. But it sounds like the guy who validates the transactions, it's not the same guy who builds the block. And that means the builders have more authority than they've ever had. And I don't like that. They don't sound good to me. So
Yeah, see, and with Ethereum, like right now, that's why it's merging. So, we're gonna take a step back. Like part of the reason, like JP Morgan couldn't come in and necessarily just take over Ethereum or the ETH network currently is because of how it was formulated. So in the beginning, you just had decentralized regular people running computers. I was a miner back in 2017. Um, you had regular miners that have the wealth of the Ethereum token right now, or ETH. Yeah, miners have the bulk of ETH right now. So the
Okay.
idea behind this and the gamification of this is it's like I'm a miner. I don't plan on selling. The bulk of ETH isn't like on the open market right now. But if at any given time, all right, faith is lost, yeah, JP Morgan could just swoop in and say, like, all right, I'm gonna buy it. Or they drive the price up enough that people will exit. It's like, once you get rich, how much is rich enough?
Right. Right. Okay.
that
So
that
I
is
mean,
part of
I
the
think
reason why they
just
good.
think. Yeah, I mean, that's one thing. But the builder validator separation, and then the sharding concept, right? Where sharding is a concept where all of the network's transactions won't be available on chain naturally, right? Or like you'll be able to deduce all of the past reactions. Can you hear me well? Just making sure.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah, yeah.
so you'll be able to deduce all the past reactions with sharding or Dan sharding or whatever sharding that they have. And all of it scares me because right now you can go to etherscan.com, etherscan.io, my bad, and you can see all of Ethereum's transactions. And of course, you know it's a total ledger of all the transactions, but that's what makes Ethereum nice. The fact that we have the ledger. And I know that like in sharding, the ledger is not destroyed, it's just held by few people. So like me,
Mhm.
because I'm scared, when when Ethereum moves into this sharding period, I'm gonna be buying all types of hard drives and I'm gonna download every single transaction. Just to keep them.
So that's see, that means you don't understand sharding. So
I'm
like
scared,
I'm
Justin.
gonna he just docked me. But yeah, shorting isn't meant to be like that. Like, so I gotta kind of step back. So with shorting, what's gonna happen, and this is why shorting isn't part of the ETH2. I'm not gonna call it ETH2. It isn't part of the merge. Like right now, we have proof of work ETH, we have proof of stake ETH, which is the beacon chain. Then we have sharding and maybe dank sharding coming on down the line. I'm not even gonna get into that. But anyway, what sharding will do is it's gonna say, all right, Jerome, you want to run a node. You're gonna hold just a portion of the data. Like, all right, I'm gonna
Okay.
hold a portion of the data. 30 other people are gonna hold a portion of the data. So one entity isn't gonna hold all the data ever after sharding is implemented. That's why it's called sharding. The problem right now with ETH is like if you're gonna get stuff that is scalable and fast, the Ethereum network can't hold all of the data in one node. Right now, how it is, if you were to spin up a brand new Ethereum node with the whole blockchain, you need like actually you can look it up right now, or maybe you can look it up. Um, the ETH node requirements, I want to say it's like terabytes right now. Let's see. I'm just gonna do a quick Google and see what's the requirements. The Ethereum full node right now. Yeah,
It's
you
crazy.
need 500 gigabytes of space to run an Ethereum full node, 16 gigabytes of RAM, a 4 core plus CPU, and you need, basically Ethernet connection. Like that's to run a full node. That's not sustainable for decentralization. Like a regular person isn't about to go out and purchase that. Like
I am. It's in the mail.
yeah, you didn't let me finish though. You didn't let me finish. So there's also what's called an archive node, and that's what you were just talking about doing. An archive node, you need 6 terabytes of space, 16 gigabytes. You need everything else plus 6 gigabytes. I mean 6 terabytes of space.
Yeah,
Like
I
that's an
think that's what
archive node.
that's definitely
That's
where
an
I want to
archive
be.
node.
I want to have
Yeah.
something like that where like I got everything and I want to run the node because I mean someone has to do it to protect the network, right? I mean I gotta
Well,
have
like with
everything.
sharding, one node won't protect the network. Multiple nodes will. So how sharding will work from the specification is no single person will hold um, a lot of data, but multiple people will hold enough data that you can recreate bits and pieces of it. So think about like a puzzle piece. Like you dump out like a big puzzle And like you say, like, all right, I got these amount of pieces. Let me contact somebody else that also has these amount of pieces. Let me
Yeah.
contact somebody else that also has these amount of pieces. What happens and why this is good is if one person ever loses their set of pieces, it's duplicated to somebody else. So you can always grab another box another box of the full puzzle from people who are running the node, which means the network never goes down, aka Solana. But yeah,
That
so
still scares me. I don't know. There's something about that that makes me uncomfortable, but maybe it's
you have
because
to trust the decentralization of it, because if
you know
what will
because
happen is
it's like we're decentralizing the information. The information should be centralized. I don't
no,
know. I don't know. I'm
no,
scared. I'm just
man.
scared. I don't.
Again,
I don't. I don't understand.
again, again. Okay, think about it like this. Um, I don't want to use news, but let's think of centralized news entities. We have right wing and left wing. They're centralized because they can control what they publish. It's like
Right.
you don't want to have a big group of validators controlling the data that they publish, because then they can control price oracles, they can control transactions, they can control historical transactions, which is even worse. So think about on this date, 10 years from now, somebody's going back and they're pulling data, and there's just me and you that has the price of Ethereum, and we say it is $2.
Right.
That's it. Like we say it's $2. Like in a regular case, that's not an issue. But then like we could say, like, all right, we bought ETH at $2. Me and you can historically say we bought ETH at $2 and we have $1,000 profit. We could later on say, like, hey, we bought ETH at $2. It's 10 grand right now. We were smart, we were dumb. But are we lying, or are we just factual because we're the only ones that control the data?
Right.
And that
I
that has
guess I don't
happened.
know. So my next thing about the builder validator separation. Do you know much about that? I mean,
No,
it's the builder validator separation. I mean, I only heard it on the Bankless episode, but when I heard it, it just made my skin crawl because it's just like Ethereum is this beautiful and magical thing right now, and it's like if we go to proof of stake and it disappears, so will I. Like, I mean, I'm gonna be so sad, fam. Like, everything's there. I mean, from Polygon to Arbitrum. I don't really mess with optimism, but like, like everything I own is right there. You know. So I mean, the
mm,
build value separation is something that scares me, and it's basically like the guy who confirms the block, right? Who says, "Hey, this is the data. These are all the transactions. This is the order they should be in." Right? It's not the same
mm.
guy who puts the block together. Builder validator separation.
Yeah, but it you run into other problems with that. Like we're going it's I feel like that's a whole nother conversation because it's gonna get
Okay.
really technical really quick.
All right. So
Like
look, what I want to do is bring you back for that because I got a lot. That's my biggest fear for Ethereum proof of stake.
mhm,
And also, question, side note, if I own an Ethereum, right? Let's say hypothetically speaking, I own one ETH
just
prior
one.
to prior to proof of stake. Will it still say proof of work on it? Or because I know Polygon is just Polygon proof of stake, Polygon. You know, so like, what would you think they'll label it Ethereum proof of stake? Like, what?
Mm-mm. So like that's one thing that the Ethereum community is trying to get away from. Like just think of ETH as ETH. Like
Okay,
right now people call it Ethereum 2.0 the merge. At the time of the merge, again, think about, as I said before, the proof of stake network is just recording transactions. So everything that you've done up until this point will still exist, and that ETH that you have on proof of work will just become proof of stake ETH. It's going to be the same ETH on a one-to-one basis.
okay. I guess now we go forward to tokenomics. Um, I
The
mean,
fun
so
stuff.
tokenomics is always the most foolish part of the given conversation, right? You always want to talk about lot number goes up, stuff like that. But in reality, Ethereum is going to be put in a situation where it is going to just, especially the bull market, if transactions are high, more Ethereum will be burned than created every day. But
Yep.
I just uh, I guess I wanted your opinion on that, and what's the benefit of? We'll get into staking later, but just the tokenomics. I mean, what do you see? Like, I mean, are you
Well,
are
the
you how bullish are you on Ethereum?
oh man, very,
Yeah,
very. That's why I like bear markets.
yeah, because you
It's
can
like
buy it for free.
yeah, not financial advice, but
None
like
of this
yeah,
is financial
definitely,
advice.
definitely. Like right now, I'm accumulating as much ETH as I can, fiscally responsible, of course. But yeah, it in the short version of ETH right now, it's currently trending towards a deflationary asset because of EIP 1559, which is nothing more than just a burning mechanism. When proof of stake hits, though, it will become more so. I'm trying to think. What is I want to say like the reduction of ETH production is going to drop by like 99% or something like that.
Yeah.
Like we could figure it out or find it somewhere. It's like the
See,
production of ETH is going to drop significantly. Um, I want to say the rewards are, if I don't quote me on this. I think the rewards right now for proof of work are 2 ETH per block. And then there's like 1.7 for what's called uncles, which nobody really cares about those too much. But with proof of stake, like it's gonna drop to like 1% worth of that. Like you're not gonna the blocks, the block rewards are gonna be pretty much non-existent at that point in
yeah.
time.
I
So
mean,
compared to what they are now, like if you're a miner,
so
you hate proof of stake.
so I mean, and I'm a TradFi guy, right? Once again, you check out my bookshelf. It's all traditional finance. I mean, I got a little bit of crypto in there. So when you said you
Look at my big sign. Man.
make money, use money to make more money, repeat, yeah, I get it. All I got is I got Julius Caesar over here, and I got Starlito over there. So I mean, somewhere in between, there's my ambition to make money. But here it's I mean, deflation is at its root. That's just from a track I got. It is a period of declining prices for goods and services because the currency has increased, and the end goal of deflation is lower demand. So I mean, Ethereum becoming deflationary, right, is kind of it's kind of weird for me. I mean, I know at the end it means number goes up. Like Bitcoin is going to be inflationary until 2140, when the last Bitcoin is mined. And at which point it will not necessarily, I guess it'll be 0% inflation. So it'll be net, it'll be basically deflationary. So, I mean, tokens like that will be deflationary and the value of assets in respect to those coins will drop. Right. So that means basically it means like, if it took, before it was deflationary, it took 20 to buy a house. After it's deflationary, it takes 10 to buy the same house, right? Because deflation means that the token price goes up and the asset prices in respect to that goes down. So my thing is deflationary? This is the question that I went to a lot of discourse and I asked myself, I asked a lot of people, I just wanted to bring up the situation. Deflation is not necessarily a great thing all the time, but apparently Ethereum has this mechanism where if transactions are low, then Ethereum will be minted more than it's being destroyed. So it has an inflationary technology in the Ethereum proof of stake, which is the only good thing that I think is coming out of the merge for me. I'm not necessarily like looking for the line to go up. It's just if we go into Ethereum economy depression or recession, will there be no new tokens created to influence it? Because you need to mint more coins, right? In a recession. Sadly, Jay Powell thinks that means print more money, but you need to mint more coins, I guess. And it's not necessarily Good, but I guess we'll go to the next question, because I'm probably just
Well,
bantering at this point.
yeah, but so before we move on, like you got to think, you're still thinking in terms of like again, like
TradFi.
the older, yeah, like you're thinking in terms of like dollars and stuff.
Yeah,
Bitcoin will only be profitable, even after the last Bitcoin is minted due to transaction value. So technically, it's already deflationary. People are buying more Bitcoin than is produced right now. And on top of that, the miner fee and the transaction fees, they're eliminating, the extra Bitcoin. Like there is not that much that is being produced that isn't being used.
yeah,
People are either holding it, they're not like think about it in this term. People aren't just going day to day and buying stuff with Bitcoin.
yeah,
They're holding it, which means the supply is a lot less than it's listed right now. In terms of ETH, it's the same way. ETH is deflationary not because of there needs to be transaction volume. It's because the transactions that are occurring right now aren't as much as the ETH that's being produced. So right now, what's happening is layer twos, for instance, the polygons, um, Arbitrum's optimism, they are being the block buyers. They are the ones that are spending the big money to produce blocks on the current ETH network. And they're buying so many blocks that the current miners can't make ETH fast enough to, you know, produce more ETH. And that's all built into the mechanism. So in the long run, like what we're seeing right now is you're going to be going up against networks to purchase ETH. Regular people aren't going to really be buying ETH like that. That's part of the reason I keep buying more of it, because at the end of the day, the people who are really, or the organizations that are buying ETH are going to be big entities, like to buy ETH on main, to do transactions on mainnet.
yeah. Because
So,
I mean,
and
because
again,
at the end of the day, like, I mean, I still need ETH to interact on Arbitrum and Optimism, right? Or any true L2, right? And I guess we can explain what a true L2 is on another episode, but like any true L2, you need Ethereum to make transactions.
yep, yep. And that's the thing though. What's happening with the L2s is they're rolling your little tiny ETH to do transactions into one big lump sum of ETH. So like I'm not sure what, for example, Arbitrum is paying in transaction fees, but I know I'm not gonna drop like, 5 or 10 grand worth of ETH a day. I know it's a lot more than that in transaction fees. It's like, so you have to think about it. We're already at a point where ETH is
Arbitrum
deflationary.
has Arbitrum has burned 3.23 ETH in the last 3 hours.
Yeah. And that's
Yeah,
in 3 hours. So like you can go and do the block calculation again. You have to think like in per block, we're only making about 2 ETH. Like, and that means that Arbitrum burned through it by itself, you know, it ate up the 2 ETH that were produced, which,
yeah,
and we're not even factoring in optimism, what they're paying for block space. We're not factoring into like, what's some newer ones like ZK rollups and stuff. It's
yeah,
like right now, there's not enough ETH to go around already, and people aren't really just selling. They're not just liquidating.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I think I'm excited for what lies ahead, I guess. But my next question to you is, I stake for the Polyglot network. I stake. I stake for Polyglot. I don't necessarily. I don't stake ETH. Well, take that back. I do stake ETH. It's just in 2019, way before I got into crypto.
Push staking.
Full. I hit the staking button for Polygon, which for Coinbase, which may not have been the best idea.
I mean, you didn't
Uh,
sell
no,
it.
I didn't sell it, right? But
See,
I just
it's worth
I
more money.
just I hope that they don't. I hope they remain solvent through this bear market. But as of now,
Yeah.
my only thing is, I mean, what's your point? Okay, so we have many types of staking, but with Coinbase, we have centralized finance staking, we have liquid staking on DeFi, and we have raw staking. We don't call it raw staking. We got raw staking, like real staking when you hit, a beacon. What's your opinion on that? Because C5 staking is where I got started. I
Mhm.
cannot afford, well, I can now, right? Because Quay is 22, but I cannot afford necessarily to stake on Ethereum mainnet right now, 40. So I mean, I go to, and I don't have 32 to stake on the Beacon chain, so I have to liquid stake. But the risk of liquid staking, and of course, all my staking programs go to Anchor. I don't know if anyone knows what Anchor is, but the reason why I stake with Anchor is because they're a very small staking network. Because they're small, they don't have the risk of taking over the network. But I'm going to let you explain all of that before I get into that. So, I mean, you got
Well,
C5 staking, and then liquid staking, and then we're going to call it regular staking instead of raw staking. That could be the Jack Daniels.
gotcha. So with CFI staking, that's what everybody's used to. Coinbase has a staking option where they'll guarantee you a yield. I don't know what it is right now for Coinbase
It's
staking.
like 3 point, it's like 3.7.
Yeah, but what all that is saying is like they take your ETH for you and then they put it on Beacon Chain for the merge. Until the merge happens, and not even when the merge happens, like literally about 6 months after the merge is complete, that ETH will be locked up. You won't get your ETH back, but you will get a return on it as part of protecting the Ethereum network. What you're doing is you're allowing somebody else to stake your assets for you. I don't think that that is a bad thing for people who are not fluent in the crypto world. Like I actually would advise people who are just getting started to do, if you want to make simple interest, um, centralized finances, legitimate centralized finance is where it's at because you don't have to be in control of your private keys. Where if you do lose your private keys, you lose your stake and you lose whatever you have on there. Raw staking, as Jerome said, is you have your private keys, you have your Ethereum wallet, and you submit your Ethereum to the Beacon chain. Um, to talk about that proof of stake process, like we previously stated, the difference is you need a lot more ETH to do this, and it's a lot more expensive. And the same things occur. The difference is you are in full control over your assets. If you lose your private keys, then you lose your stake. And this we're talking proof of stake will not be available to withdraw right now, at least until 2023, 2024, maybe. So that's a lot of responsibility you have to put on yourself.
Right.
Liquid staking is another form of staking where you can submit it to other protocols. Rocket Pool is one of them. We have Lido. You have to be in control of your private keys for these instances where you give up your Ethereum or you give up your tokens, be it ETH or Matic or anybody else that's staking, and you get a token back from that says like, hey, I staked these things. This represents my stake in the ecosystem. And what should happen is you're able to redeem that on a one-to-one basis. The difference with this again is you're not getting locked into anything. You're getting a token back that should be worth the value of whatever you stake. The issue with this though is not all the time will it be worth the value, because the market can dictate if your stake token is really actually worth the value of your locked up token.
All right. Uh, so I'm gonna go further. I as a TradFi guy, when I see liquid staking derivative, all I see is a bond, right? So if you go take $1,000, should be a little bit less than that right now because bond yields are higher, and you take those bonds, that money, and you give it to a 2-year U.S. Treasury bond, you'll be returned with 10 U.S. Treasury bonds, somewhere around there. And when you receive that money, you can take that and you can spend the U.S. Treasury bond at I think 0.95%, somewhere in that area. So you could spend it. So if you got $1,000, you in a Treasury bond, you could spend it anywhere between $900 and $950. when you do liquid staking though, it's supposed to be redeemed at 1-to-1, but similarly, like the bond, it can be redeemed significantly more because it is liquid staking, and I'm a liquid staker. I liquid stake with Anchor, like I said earlier, and I liquid stake Polygon. I do not liquid stake. I do centralized finance for ETH, but I don't. I haven't added to that since maybe 2020, and that's because in 2020 is when I realized how much I messed up when I did that. I should have given that to
I don't
Lido.
think you messed up.
Well, yeah, right, but like I mean, it's the best thing ever for me, right? Because I was in college and I locked my money up. I can't get it back. I have to know my password to Coinbase, two-factor authentication. It's like, oh my God, please, 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 please. Yeah, I mean, if ETH merges, the amount of money I get back to send to my ledger would be amazing. But like the maturation that I had in between the time that I put that money on there and now it's ridiculous, so ridiculous that I'm not going to take it and put it in my gas tank or buy food. So I think,
My pizza.
real. No, I'm not going to be the Bitcoin pizza guy or the Ethereum pizza guy. But I think, real staking definitely is the best. Liquid staking is the best medium. Centralized finance is best for those who do not have any clue and they just want to participate. If you want to participate, you can centralize stake with Coinbase by all means. It is the best way to do it. Go ahead, because I mean, Coinbase makes it very easy for you. I mean, I just see the number go up. I just see the amount of ETH that I have go up. And it's like, okay, because when I started, it was like 0.3, and now it's a little bit higher than that. So I'm like, all right, that's cool with me. I'm not tripping. I'm not upset. They dropped from 0.45% APY to like 0.36, I think. Hurt my feelings, but I'm not mad. We'll see what happens. And so, as you watch the market and the market behaves as it does, we'll see all the things that happen. But centralized staking it does work for those who are not gonna be hovering over the assets regularly, managing their own private assets. That's the thing. We say we're accidentally DeFi. That's because we moved to DeFi because we wanted to manage all of our assets ourselves. It's something we wanted. But if you don't want to do that, if you don't have the time to do that, centralized finance is the best way to stake on the Ethereum Beacon chain. Secondly, liquid staking for me allows me to take my money as a person who's rather poor. I can go take my money and then I can go put it in Aave. And then if I need to, I can get a loan from my own stake. And then I can say, all right, now that I have a loan for my stake, I can take this money and do what I need to do in my life without selling my stake and putting my stake at risk or at as much risk, if that makes sense. When you do real staking, you're giving your money to the beacon chain.
I wouldn't say giving it. Yeah, I wouldn't say giving. You're gonna get it back.
Well, all right.
With interest. With interest. With interest. With interest.
You're allowing the beacon chain to use your stake. That's what I'm going to say.
Yes. There you
so
go.
You do
as
real
long
staking,
as
and real staking takes 32 ETH, which is right now like 32, 33 grand. So I think like liquid staking is just best for me because I don't have 32 grand right now. Although Rocket Pool will allow you to stake for like 17, 16 grand if you have it. But once again,
no, Rocket Pool's 0.1. Rocket Pool's 0.1.
What you need? You need to have 16 ETH to run a node.
No. To run your own node, yeah, you need 16.
Yeah.
But the actual liquid stake is just 0.1.
Yeah, no. So I'm saying, like, if you want to run your own node for Rocket Pool, you need 16 ETH.
Yeah, I wouldn't suggest anybody to do that. Yeah, I wouldn't suggest anybody run their own node. So, like, unless you're like highly technical, yeah, right. Definitely.
So, if you can, before we even go today, is it possible for you to explain this Lido situation? Because I'm gonna go with myself first. I have a negative opinion about Lido because they control 32, 31, 30% of the Ethereum stake. And to me, that's too much risk. That means they could just be like, they can turn into Clyde Van Dam any day of the week and just run the entire network. So
see, like it's interesting. The Lido situation is really interesting. I'll put a disclaimer. Lido can't run away or they can't control the network or anything simply because they are staking the ETH to the beacon chain. They're literally giving it away or giving it up, for APY. Like you said, once they submit it to the beacon chain, they're not in control of it anymore.
Yeah.
So they can't really do anything bad because they're actually staking it, and it's locked up just like everybody else. ETH, like they can't get it back. Um, the Lido situation of what has happened recently with stake ETH, which is Lido's version of representation of your ETH that is staked on the beacon chain,
Or a liquid
simply
staking
is,
derivative, right? So you know,
yeah,
liquid.
look, well, Rocket Pool is the kind of the same way, but they didn't depeg. Um, but yeah, so what happened with Lido is simply like people wanted to cash out their representation of ETH, which is staked ETH, for real ETH. The issue with this is that they were willing to take a haircut on their stake ETH to get real ETH. So, and I'm just going to use like even numbers, just so it's an easy representation. Say for instance, ETH is at 1,000. You really, really, really need some money right now, and all you have is stake ETH. They were willing, when I say people, like Celsius, 3AC, other capital groups, they were willing to say, like, we really need money to pay our debts back down. We'll sell our stake ETH for, $900 worth of real ETH. So what that did was depeg it. So now you have stake ETH, which isn't selling for the price of real ETH, just simply because there is no way possible at the given time to get real ETH back from where you staked it at. So how Lido works is Lido and Rocket Pool and other stake ETH derivatives. What will happen is you give up your one ETH to Rocket Pool or Lido. They give you back one stake ETH derivative, which represents your stake in the ETH plus the interest that you are earning on your stake ETH.
Right.
Perfectly good idea if you're willing to wait until the merge hits. Like if you're willing to wait and you can hold out, then the math just adds up perfectly. What ended up happening is again, certain individuals, certain companies and organizations said, we need the money right now. What can we do to get money? Well, we're holding this, derivative of ETH or this fake ETH, which is supposed to represent, interest plus our ETH that we gave you guys. We have to sell it right now.
Right.
And at that point in time, now you're selling an ETH derivative that is supposed to represent one ETH plus the interest of whatever it has been accrued, um, you know, for below the price of regular ETH plus the interest. So if I was say we're just individuals, I don't need my ETH until the merge actually completes. I'm in good shape. Like I'm holding my staked ETH. Like I don't need to sell it even if it's depeg because I'm just waiting to get out until the merge completes, and then I can redeem my one stake ETH at a one-to-one basis, for my real ETH with Lido. But the problem is since everything is open, we're decentralized. If I did really need the money and I needed to sell it right now, I could sell it at any given time for whatever somebody wants to pay for it.
Right.
And people started to realize that, hey, ETH is more valuable than a derivative of ETH right now. And they were
Right.
like, yeah, we're not going to pay you. We're not going to pay you on a one-to-one. You can wait it out and you can get liquidated, or you can, I'll say in the Celsius case, because that's what's going to lose. They were like, all right, we need to pay back our investors. We also need to pay back our users. But all they had was a derivative of ETH that was currently valued at less than the price of real ETH. And they had to start, selling. They had to start selling, or else they would have defaulted on a bunch of stuff. But that's really it. You're sitting there holding a bucket of stuff that's supposed to be worth the same amount as something else, but it's the given time frame of when it's going to be worth the same. So when the merge happens, be it a year or 2 years, I'm gonna hope a year at least when you can actually sell stuff. That state
Yeah.
ETH is going to be unlocked at a one-to-one basis as regular ETH. But as of right now, because people are forced to sell, ETH is more valuable. It's a simple supply demand equation.
Yeah, I think for me, like I think just the threat of the network. I don't like seeing the network threatened. Listen, I think my money's there, and I needed my money to be safe and happy at all times. And when they have when the network is threatened or potentially threatened, they're at risk, I get stressed out. Whether it comes from JP Morgan potentially buying all the validators, or who is it? What's the guy's name? I just forgot this thing. Or build a validated separation, or all the other things that go on in theory network. I get stressed. But the Lido situation has prompted me to buy into the Lido DAO and become a member and actually pay attention to the governance so that like I can affect it. And like if Lido were to like reduce itself to maybe 10, no, not 10, maybe 18% of Ethereum stake, I probably oh shit, oh, I'm sleepy. I probably sell my Lido DAO, but as of right now, I'm going to maintain membership in Lido DAO, and I'll continue to buy, especially during this bear market, with the intention of becoming a more than average member of the DAO, so that I can vote and control governments and watch governments and be like a beacon to the community. Like, hey guys, they're doing the thing again. Because if they were to decide that they were John Wayne or Jason Bourne or whoever the heck, and decided they wanted to take the whole network, not that they could, but they probably could. And it's important for us as community members, and I see you shaking your head. It's important for us as community members to remain active and protect the network at all times.
So right now they couldn't. I always, like to say both sides. Right now they couldn't. Simply because again, the ETH is locked up. There's nothing they can do with the ETH that is staked. And you can go and verify the contract. So how much ETH they have staked. The problem is when ETH gets unlocked. At that point in time, we're in a different ball game for the merge. We're in unprecedented times because again, kind of going back to the beginning of our conversation, whoever owns the most stake at that point in time, if Lido ever owns 51% of the stake of ETH, then we're in all right, we're in kind of bad. We're not kind of bad. We're in a bad situation because they could definitely propose to liquidate themselves or exit the beacon chain all at once. Or exit the chain all at once. Like that's there's stuff that is in place to protect it, but that is a real situation with proof of stake systems. Everybody leaves all at once, the network's unprotected, and we're kind of back to square one.
Okay. I guess when it comes to the end of the episode, I'm just asking, do you have any, what else do you feel like about Ethereum going to the merge? Like, what can I do? This is not financial advice, so you can give me the wildest thing. What can I do to prepare myself for the merge outside of buying or outside of staking these? What can I do?
It depends on your risk tolerance. If you are, again, it depends on your risk tolerance and knowledge side. Like if you're a new user to crypto, easily just buy ETH. Just simply just buy it and hold on to it. You don't got to do anything. If you're more interested in the ecosystem and everything else, hop in some discords, hop in Arbitrum's Discord, hop in Optimism, hop in the platforms that are gonna be the people that are actually buying the block space. People don't really think about Ethereum as a company because it's open source, but essentially what you're doing is what you'll be facing later on, be it 2-3 years from now, when everybody is on layer 2, because I don't think that people are going to be on the main network too much longer. You're going to be competing against these people, if you're still buying ETH at the time. So just, hop into Discord, get involved, hop into some DeFi platforms. I have my personal preferences, but really just play around and see what you can do. Don't invest anything or don't play around with stuff that, it's too risky. I say risky, I mean, don't put money in it that you need. to to play around with. Like that's the big thing. It's like, but
Yeah.
again, if your risk tolerance is you're just learned about crypto, just buy it and hold DCA in. That's really it.
Yeah, using like Coinbase or Gemini or a centralized exchange. You do not have to jump
Yeah,
into DeFi. I think it's the important part of our podcast. You do not have to jump into DeFi. But if you own a little bit of crypto, you're almost there. And when you do mature past the point, I know Canada is in a place where they're pushing to a place where they want to control all crypto and centralized exchanges. So if you guys are going to get to a point where you want to control your assets. We want to be able to educate you so that when it's time for you to do that, you can jump into DeFi, hold all your private keys, manage your private keys, and maybe one day we get you a discounted ledger or Trezor or somebody who has a hardware wallet that's going to be very unique and good for you. I think that ends everything. I hope everybody enjoyed this. I tried to do something different. If David approves this episode, it will be posted.
he's got to edit
Yeah,
everything.
he's the editor. He's gonna take everything out. I mean, the merge is coming. Buy ETH. This is not financial advice. Buy ETH, and get
Oh,
prepared.
before I forget, one good thing to do. I know you asked about like what's to do with the merge. Educate yourself on the merge. Like listening to this is step one. Like go through and verify everything we said. Again, that's the biggest thing because a lot of people will say like crypto's this and crypto's that, but they don't even know. They don't know the merge is coming.
Right. And everybody's on Twitter saying, the merge isn't priced in, or this isn't priced in, or whatever. I mean, we can say all day everything we believe, but I think it's impressive. I think it's important for all of us as citizens of Ethereum or citizens of this decentralized finance, or of crypto as a whole, or Bitcoin, whatever crypto token that you call yourself a favorite, to manage your own personal assets and enjoy the sovereignty provided by the technology you're investing in. I think that's it, man.
Yeah, it's
Everybody,
been fun.
this is Accidentally DeFi. Like, subscribe, hit us up on our Twitter. I think we're at Acid Token, but don't quote me on that. Yeah, so like, subscribe, hit us up on Twitter. We're gonna make a Reddit eventually. And I think David's still working on Instagram. So when we get all that figured out, we're gonna be back at it like crack addicts, and we'll see what we're gonna do again. I don't know if that's a good. David might cut that one out. But all right, guys.
He said he gonna be like, it was good content. Film it again.
he might actually let that one ride. We're gonna see back at it like crack addicts. We'll see, guys. We'll see you guys next time. I'm sure me and David gonna record another one for you guys Friday. But all right, y'all have a good one. It's deuces.